Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about companies and major corporations, specifically restaurants, who are being forced to change their process and to kowtow to modern sensibilities and current events. That's right. And today's story might actually make a little sense when we get into it, but it's still funny and entertaining to say the least. So I want to go ahead and jump right into it. This article has more details. It says, "Finger licking good no more. KFC scraps inappropriate slogan due to pandemic." So this is the slogan that was previously a big thing for KFC. As you can see on this picture right here, that's kind of faded out. That's a bucket of chicken. They have censored out the finger licking part of its slogan. So it just says it's good. And yeah, obviously we could see the interest in changing this here. It's kind of questionable to have a slogan saying finger licking when everyone's trying to be so like healthy and clean and protect themselves from this terrible, terrible outbreak that's plaguing the country. So it does make a little sense, but I think it's a little silly too. It's a little bit too much, almost like they're trying to do this just to get attention. Like, oh, I'm going to virtue signal. Like, look at us. We're going to remove this slogan and everyone will talk about it. Now you'll buy chicken. And honestly, I'm starting to think it's working because now I want KFC, but that's besides the point. Don't let my stomach dictate how you think about this story, and I will try to keep it out of my thoughts and my words. But really, kidding aside, this is just an interesting turn of events for KFC, a very popular chain that's a worldwide chain. I mean, you could get this stuff almost in every country. I remember seeing it when I've traveled abroad multiple times. And yeah, it's also big in America. Obviously, KFC used to stand for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Then they tried to change it to Kitchen Fresh Chicken. And now it's just KFC straight up. Like they kind of just go by the initials now. I know that name is still there. Obviously, it's still inspired by Kentucky Fried Chicken. And that stuff is good. It's a really good product, a good place. I mean, some of them are hit or miss. You can have a bad location like you can with any restaurant, but overall, KFC is a legend, and them taking away this finger licking slogan is just kind of like, okay, you're virtue signaling, obviously. I don't know if this is really going to help anyone. I mean, I can understand the health implications, but I don't think it was like a thing like, oh, you're licking each other's fingers, or you're like, oh, you're licking the table at the restaurant. It's just like, no. You have a piece of chicken and sometimes it gets on your finger like a little grease and people lick it off. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I've actually never really liked licking my fingers. Like the only time it comes up for me is like in a desperate situation. Like if I'm out and about or I'm driving and I'm eating, sometimes you just have to lick your finger to get it clean and not get it everywhere. But especially now, I would say, yeah, I understand not wanting to do that now that I think about it. Like if you're at a restaurant, especially if you're out and about, like licking your hands is like the last thing you want to do. I mean, we have to have sanitizer everywhere now. You can't eat inside at some restaurants. Masks are required everywhere. Obviously, you could take them off while you're eating, but still, it's like, I understand this point, but it's also just funny and little ridiculous. And it just goes to show this kind of like weird world we're living in this year. Like this year, anything could happen. We're in this sort of, I would say, it seems like a dystopian kind of future. Like, oh my God, everything's so polarized. There's riots, there's stuff burning in the streets. There's a pandemic, there's a virus, there's an election, there's people going racist against each other. Like it's a little crazy. And I think KFC is getting caught up in the middle of it. And I think it has to do with them, yeah, trying to be woke, virtue signaling to the leftists and everyone out there, showing that they're another corporation going along with all this nonsense. With all that said, let's go ahead and read into the story. It says, Kentucky Fried Chicken's famous slogan has flown the coop. Nice pun there. On Monday, KFC's global headquarters announced that after 64 years, it will temporarily halt the use of its finger-licking good catchphrase in select countries. The U.S. has not used the slogan since March. Per a press release, the not-so-hygienic prompt feels inappropriate in light of the coronavirus pandemic and its push for vigilant hand-washing over, say, stuffing fingers coated in 11 herbs and spices into one's mouth. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but I mean, you are still eating it with your hands. Like people are still going to eat with their hands. You could clean your hands. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage this. Like I said, I am not a fan of licking your fingers, but you are still eating with your hands. It's fried chicken. I mean, unless you're really going to cut it up or get yourself some like chicken tenders that you could cut into pieces. Like it's still getting eaten with hands. And yeah, I do remember this story coming up, like when it was mentioned in March, they took the slogan away in America. Now it looks like it's being taken away in other countries. And it also reminds me, like, this is a 64-year slogan. I mean, this KFC stuff has been around forever. We find ourselves in a unique situation having an iconic slogan that doesn't quite fit in the current environment. Catherine Tan Gillespie's KFC's global chief marketing officer says in the statement, while we're pausing the use of "it's finger licking good," rest assured the food craved by so many people around the world isn't changing one bit. The news comes a few months after Britain's Advertising Standards Authority received more than 100 complaints concerning a KFC commercial in that region, showing diners enthusiastically sucking their fingers post-drumstick. KFC UK and Ireland, which in a stroke of bad timing had launched that campaign in late February, agreed in March to discontinue the ads following complaints that it was improper as COVID transmission spread. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, especially earlier on, but I was going to question why they would even release this commercial, but it came out in February. Like, let's remember, no one was even worried about this virus then. Like, it was still coming up very, very small. Like, most stuff didn't happen and no precautions were made until like March. Now that could be an error. I'm not sure that's the best. We should have been more prepared. I know Trump started banning travel at some point in February, but yeah, basically it was just starting then. No one could have predicted that this would happen this year either. Like, it's just a weird time. It's a weird kind of curveball that I think is possibly influencing the election. Like, it's part of it. It's like China might be getting involved with this. They clearly want Biden to win. I know that might seem a little tinfoil hatty, but you know, that's the world we live in. Like, everything in this year is related to the election. And even if this virus was more natural and happened on its own, I mean, it wasn't completely natural because it came out of a lab in Wuhan, China, but it definitely was spread on its own course. I'm not sure you could claim it was purposely spread, but the hype around it is definitely being molded and formed by liberals that are taking advantage of it. They're overhyping it. They're trying to scare people, trying to get the perception that things are worse, get those masks on everyone. Remove slogans like this is another thing. Like, it's all related to the election cycle. Of course, Colonel Sanders is never one to pass up an opportunity. The slogan switch up is the inspiration for a buzzy new advertising campaign running in the UK, Netherlands, South Africa, Canada, and parts of Asia, Middle East, and North Africa that shows the tagline blurred out of billboards and packaging. So this is the sign again. This is a picture of the chicken looking delicious. And yeah, I think them blurring it is them kind of making a joke about it, which kind of brings into question whether it is really a serious move. It's kind of cheeky to blur it out. Like, it would make more sense to just, you know, not have it there, maybe replace it with a different slogan, put something else on there, like a picture of a person eating chicken. I don't know. I think this is kind of playing into it, which is smart. It's funny, but it makes you question whether it's really necessary. I think it's more like almost capitalizing on what's going on. That's the way I see it, at least. That thing we always say, a video posted by KFC in Ireland, ignore it for now. KFC presses pause on their thing. This is a video. Though it remains to be seen when the slogan can be safely restored, the fast food chain has hinted that a future campaign will celebrate a return to finger licking. If KFC is famous for one thing, it's big flavor. A statement sent to Yahoo Life reads, "It's what we do. We dial things up to 11. And this big moment for KFC, a big decision, and not a decision we're taking lightly. That slogan feels like it's in our DNA, but this is the right thing to do. It's been a tough year and we'll miss those beloved two words, but this is just a pause, a hiatus, a sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. Just like Schwarzenegger, it'll be back, bigger and better than ever." Well, we'll see about that. We'll see how this story goes in the public. We'll see if this virus ever goes away. I predict we'll stop talking about it after the election. People will fade away into it and things will go back to normal a little bit. Depending on who wins too, it could be very different. There could be a lot of outrage, potentially, possibly, highly probably, if Trump wins re-election. Hopefully, God willing, we get him back into office. But the other thing is, yeah, I just see it as a joke. They're not taking it that seriously, even though they're pretending the virus is serious. They're making a joke out of it. They even have a Schwarzenegger line here. And yeah, I mean, it's a good slogan. I don't see it being that important, but I understand, you know, it has a history. And I just really think this is just a funny story that goes along with the virus, shows the hysteria around it, shows that companies are trying to get involved. At least this one's not race-based or involving like BLM political stuff. But there is a certain aspect to it. Like we said, that everything this year is about the election. There's a lot of influence from the media, from big corporations, trying to hype this thing up more. So this is part of that too. I think part of it's saying, hey, this finger licking's not good. It isn't good. I'm not a fan of it either, but that's just the way it falls. I think it's just more about them trying to save face, trying to avoid a controversy, and possibly play into the Democrats' hands. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit the like button to get this shared, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. We also have a cool second channel called NoBS News, so you can check that out, get some extra videos and live streams if you got time. And you can also consider becoming a member of this channel. There's a member button below each video, and you can join for a monthly fee, which really helps support this show and keep this thing going. We can't survive without support from viewers like you, so every single membership is appreciated. Thanks for your time, your consideration, and most of all, thanks for being cool and awesome. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.